All right, everyone, welcome again. Thanks for joining. While we await others to join, this is a very all important seminar today on career, and I want everybody to get ready. It's going to be very interactive. I'm going to do a couple of sessions, like 20, 30 minutes, run through the slides that we have, which is just a guide. Um, so I hope you have your pen and your notebook by your side there. If you have a laptop, great. I'll be sharing a couple of links as well. And then a couple of follow-up. If anybody needs to follow up with me on anything, then there's an email I put in the chat, careers with LBO. That's an email you can send without solely for follow-up purposes. Careers with LBO at gmail.com. That's it. That's specifically designed for career-related matters. And so that's what we'll be doing today. Today, as you're all aware, there's this book that has been released, the five-factor formula. And I want to believe that all of you on the call, if you have not bought it, if you're not read it, I'm going to strongly recommend what we're going to do today is just a run through of what this book represents, why it was written, and why it was important for everyone, particularly if you want to do greatly in your career. This is something that a resource you need to have, and anyone you know that is struggling in their career and business, this is a very strong recommendation, particularly for people who are looking, if you are outside of the country, outside of Nigeria, for example, or your home country, as I will say it, and you're in a different environment like the Western economies, and you want a playbook, a blueprint, as I call it. This is a book that I strongly recommend. So, and we have it's five factors because there are five fundamentals that people need to be aware of. I need to put into work for results to be sustainable. Now, you can get results anyhow, but if you want sustainable results, there's a blueprint for that. And that's what we're doing today. And I'm hoping and trusting that all of you have value for your time on today's session. Whether people are registered, some people are still joining, so we would not wait. We have to get ahead because we have a time frame structure for this, a follow-up meeting after this. So, and just to lay a foundation as well, this is going to be a 90-day program. It's a promise that within 90 days, anyone who follow this blueprint, it's almost like a guaranteed result because 3 months and 90 days is enough time to put this into work and begin to get this to see the result. So for all of you joining again, like I said, put in the chat where you're joining from and your objective or your goal for joining the session today. So everybody, you're most welcome again. Now, if you can see my slide, you see some of the critical things when I talk to people about career, one of the things that they tell me is, oh, I'm not getting interview, there's no callback and all of that. So again, part of the reason for writing the book, I'll tell you a story of why this book came about in the first place. And then of course, then we run through all of these. Now, the background story for those of you on the call probably will not be aware, if you have not read the book yet, was the background story was when I moved out of by reason of family commitment and all of that things, and had to move out of doing greatly in Nigeria, working in oil and gas, and how to, transition myself into the United States. And then when I get in there, it was a different environment completely. There's new rules that nobody will tell you when get into the embassy, into the, you know, uh, customs when you cross over, lift your plane, get into the United States, pass through immigrations, and then now you're here. What happens next? Now it's not the same experience you have back in your own country where you already understand the rules of engagement, how you go about your career and all of that. It's a different environment. Nobody will sit you down and tell you how to go about this. And that's why this is important. So of course, if you read the book, you've said that I went through a couple of, you know, I would say cultural shock, a couple of things that happened. I'm like, wow, how do we navigate this? Somehow, by some arrangement, I was able to figure that out quickly, which I'm going to be sharing some details here today. And so, today we'll be focusing on what are those things that you need to be aware of. That's number one factor, awareness. And then how do you transition yourself from someone who's not been able to get applications responded to, who's going to be able to get invited for interviews, and how do you translate that into someone that you will constantly being bombarded with application, I mean, with um, with job vacancies, people advertising and they're targeting you and they're looking for you to be able to, get your attention. That transition doesn't happen anyhow. There's a structured blueprint that needs to happen. And that's why we're here today. So I'd like you to sit tight, and I'm trusting that this will be a great experience, an eye-opener for many of us. And some of them will say, oh, today I'm not out travel out of the country, but this is an experience you'll remember for a long time, because many years ago, somebody had told me I'll be going through that experience. I was like, yeah, maybe not. But a couple of years after, I'm in that situation. So what you're learning today may be something that you may not know you may need. You may not know you need it, but until you need it. You get what I mean? So why are we here today? Number one is recognizing, again, like I said earlier, we're going to walk through this book, and I strongly recommend everybody should have a copy. We have an ebook format of it on Amazon, and we also have the paperback as well. So either option works. If you're the type that want to read on your laptop, ebook is for you. If you're the one that like to read and mark the paper and note the pages, like I always like to do, then you need to get the paperback, and for your library as well. So now this seminar, like our webinar, I call it, it's a three-part series, and our framework, of course, is going to be the five-factor formula. So in your mind already, you're wondering, what are the five factors that we're talking about? Now, what are the challenges that are we trying to address today? Now, on the screen, you'll see I've gotten some statistics. There's what we call the ATS, the Applicant Tracking System. For many of you, that's for those who have been applying generally and wondering, why have I not been getting responses back? The word here is ATS. ATS is a system designed to look for specific keywords that, that filter through your resume. When you submit your resume, you go through a system. The ATS tracks some of these applications, look at the keywords, and then decide which one the recruiter should see and which one you should not see. So this is one of the major reasons why many people don't get responses back when they apply, because there are some keywords. I'm going to show you some of these things in the session today. So in fact, higher than 75%, I will say, most people just say, I don't get feedback. Nobody's responding back to me. This is one of the reasons. Now, a lot of people just, again, another challenge is that people just apply randomly, mass applications. I call it spraying, generic, same resume everywhere. It doesn't work that way. That used to work, if it ever worked. In today's world, no way. You have to tailor your resume and make sure it is directly aligned to, the applications that you're applying for. Now, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then, for example, for many who are in the US and Canada, developed economies in general, the rules are different. The rules are completely different. And that's one of the reasons why the book, again, I can't say it enough, you need to get a book, because it's kind of like, we can't go through all of that here, but it kind of details the stories, the nuances, and all of the cultural things that you need to be aware of. That people, seldom miss out, and they're struggling, they're frustrated, and they're wondering what's going on here. And what the results, people are, they're very talented, they are skilled, they know what they're doing, and they succeed somewhere else. But when they get here, they look like silent, frustrated. And they're like, what's going on here? Cultural shock. And so that's why this is a very important conversation today. Now, some of the key insights here, like I said on the screen here, it's not about lack of talent. Everybody has something valuable that they can offer. But how do you align what you have? How do you present what you have in a structured way that is contextual? Contextual here for me means that it's relevant to the environment you have found yourself. So you need to understand the rules of the game. Nobody will ever mention this rule to you. Nobody sit you down that you have a coach, and most people don't have the culture of approaching coaches or paying for coaches to be able to walk them through this. People just want to do things like, I can always do this, and that's why many people are struggling, because there is a way to go about these things, and that's why you're on the seminar today. Now, what are the five-factor formulas? Let's take a quick overview of what this is all about. There are 5 blueprints five fundamentals that make it the five-factor formula. That's why it's called five-factor formula. And the first one, of course, like I mentioned earlier, is awareness. Understand the system and the hidden rules. So there are hidden rules. There's a cultural nuances. In fact, in the book, if you get a book, if you go to, there is a section in the book that speaks to chapter 7, actually, that speaks to, it's a question and answer sessions on different contexts, some of the things that people need to be aware of. In fact, I tell people you need to go and read that part because it has different scenarios, different context of what people need to be aware of. How do you respond to situations when you're working? How do you respond when you have, interviews? How do you respond to salary negotiations? All of these various things in the new environment you have, these are written and then unwritten rules that you need to be aware of. So awareness is very important. People are not aware, they've changed. They know they've changed places, but they think it's the same rule. No. For example, in my own case, when I came, I remember that I had been certified as a global HR professional at the highest level in HR back home. And I thought when I get here, the same, since I'm certified, why not? They should be looking for me. No way. It doesn't work that way. I have to understand the systems, understand the nuances, the cultural integration, and the different things that nobody would have told you before the breakthrough came. And so you have to be aware, number one. And then number two, it's a shift, the mind shift, I call it mindset shift, that happens from an outsider into an in-demand asset. This, for you to make that happen, there has to be something that shifts inside of you. And it's a mindset. Because I would say once you understand, once you have the right mindset, framed around the right concept, then you are ready for your breakthrough. I went from someone who was not able to get up, do responses for at least 4 or 5 months to someone today where I just ignore people trying to reach out to me and say, are you looking for a job? To get into that space, it needs a complete mindset. And it's one of saying, I'm not just someone who is skilled, I'm someone who can offer value. And we'll talk about that shortly because we're going to focus on um, number 1 and 2 today. That are going to be our focus. And then the next session, next month, we're going to come back because it'll be an assignment because I want you to go and put this thing to work and see the results yourself. Number 3 is preparation. That's now where you begin to create a brand for yourself. Now you're aware of what's going on, the cultural integration that needs to happen. You have the right mindset. And number 3, you have to go through what I call preparation. That's building your brand. How do you get noticed? And this is where we're going to talk about it. LinkedIn and all these other things that people need to set up. I was talking to someone a couple of days ago and I said, "Are you on LinkedIn?" He said, "No." I said, "What?" How do you even do that in today's world? How do you get noticed? This is one thing you need to do. Then after you prepared all of the fundamentals, your resume, you tailored it, your cover letter, all those things that you're aware of, how do you execute? So number 4 is execution. Okay. That's where it becomes very interesting. You now begin to apply. Don't just spray your applications all over the place. Nope. You have to now be strategic. It's a tool I'm going to share with all of you, apexcareer.ai, where it will help you to show your match. How well do you match this role? Are you 80% match? Are you 90% match? I always encourage people apply for roles that you match at least 80% minimum. That way, your chances of success is very high. Instead of just applying everywhere you see, that has never yield results. In fact, as a matter of fact, it creates what I call burnout. Because after a while, you're like, oh my goodness, I've been applying every day and nothing is working. But if you apply strategically, I can guarantee you there will be results. And lastly, number 5 is gratitude. How do you leverage on the momentum to accelerate your growth? So there's a space you get into, like I'm doing today, where you've found your way around it, following the formula, and now it's now time to give back. And that's what I've seen that when you get to that place, when you begin to network effectively and to be able to build others and give others, you also begin to climb. And this is the concept of we rise by lifting others. Gratitude, you are grateful for where you are, and then you want to give back to others. And as you do that, doors open for you as well. So it's a framework, and I can tell you guys, it's amazing and it works any day, anytime. So on today, what are we zeroing in. We're going to zero in on, and if you have any question in the chat, please put it in the chat. I'm going to be reading the chat as well, because this is going to be very interactive, and we want to run through this overview for the next few minutes, and then we'll get back to what are your specific questions and how do you address this. So factor one is awareness. Know the rules before you play. Many people struggle because they don't understand the rules. So let's go into some of the fundamental rules that you need to be aware of today. Number one, understand the recruitment ecosystem. Talk about ATS earlier, applicant tracking system. This is where each recruitment software that you see out there, I don't want to mention the names, there are a couple of them. They are what we call the ATS systems, where it tracks the resume. So people apply, thousands of jobs are applied, it goes through the system and knock off some and then recommend some. Why does that happen? Because recruiters can't go through about 5,000 applications. That's too much for them. For 10,000, 20,000, so much. They have to use a system to kind of like filter through that, and what they use is what I call an ATS. If you're not aware of that, you see why you've been applying and you're like, oh my goodness, nobody's coming back to me. This is the reason. And that's why it's important to tailor your resume, because that's the only way your resume will speak to the job description. So for every role, as you're all aware, there's a job description, and then there's a cover letter. Now, all of these must go hand in hand. Some people are applying for roles and there's no cover letter. I'm saying, how do you want to convince them? Your resume can be like any other person's resume. Your cover letter is what will differentiate you, your experiences, and what you're bringing to the table, and your value proposition. What is the value are you bringing? So your resume must be tight and be tailored to the job description. So that's why you cannot afford to apply for just one role or multiple roles with the same resume. Many people do that. It's a common mistakes. That's why many ones are getting results. You have to make sure there are keywords. There are keywords for in each industry, each role that you're applying for. That has to be, all over the resume. So that when the ATS is searching for someone who has those experiences, those keywords, industry relevant keywords, your resume will have it, and then your resume will be filtered and recommended for further screening. Now, there's what we call the 6 seconds rules. When your resume get into, even if it's recommended by the ATS, it gets into the system, it's now right in front of the recruiter. Guess what happens? 60 seconds, when they look at your resume, they're looking for how you organize your resume. And that's why one of the things that I'm going to be also sharing with us is how do you organize your resume in a way that they look at it, they're like, wow, okay, let's talk to this person. And then they schedule you for interview. So interview sessions, we're going to talk about that in another session, maybe the last one. So if you're on the call today, make sure you register for all the three so that we're going to follow. So for today, we're going to focus on awareness and the mindset. And then we're going to, by the next month, we're going to talk about preparation. How do you structure all of these things? So between now and then, that will be the assignment. We're going to be working on the resume and how do you structure, make sure that you have your keywords in what you're applying for. And then I'll be sharing with you. I've done a couple of interviews and I can show you what we're looking for when we are interviewing people. So the assignment that we have, if you're on the call right now, is understanding that every role you want to apply for has a job description, and you have to read the description and how do you tailor your resume to that job description. It's something that we're going to demonstrate. I'll show you through the application, the apexcareer.ai. Let me put that in the chat. One of you probably be aware, if you're not aware of that application, that's software. So if you're just joining, like I said, put your name in the chat and where you're joining from and why you are here today. So the application is apexcareer.ai. If you get it, if you click that link, even right now, you can do that. You will see what I'm talking about. Now, so let's go into the activity for today as an assignment. Like I said, it's resume and how do you tailor that? People say, how do you do that? It's something I wanted to figure out. So the factor two here is the mindset. How do you become an in-demand asset? So from someone who has never gotten response to applications, and how do you become an in-demand asset? Number one is most professionals, a lot of people, they call themselves job seekers. When you think job seeking, you'll be seeking for a long time. Now, you should be positioning yourself as someone who's solving problems. So the mind shift is I need a job is what people say. If somebody will say, no, I need a job. I say, why? Because I need money. I need to pay my bills. That's the wrong reason for looking for a job. Nobody should hire you for that. Because every employer is looking for an employee of value. Every employer is looking for an employee of value, and that's very fundamental. So once you have that mindset, understand that I must bring value to the table before I should be hired, you see that your approach will be different. So when you approach a company and they're not hiring you, it's their loss because you know what you're bringing to the table. That's a mindset shift that most people don't have. A lot of people are looking for jobs to pay bills and all of that. And if that's the reason why you are looking for a job, you keep looking for the job. But if you have a mindset that says, look, I'm not just looking for a job, I want to be able to, um, I want to be able to provide this level of value. I carry this level of skills that I'm confident will be able to solve this problem you have listed in the job descriptions. That's the way I approach interviews. If you interview me for one choose, one of the things that they will get is the confidence that I'm not just seeking for a job. No, as a matter of fact, I'm not desperate. I'm here because I understand that I have value, and it will be my pleasure and the privilege of the company to have someone like me on their, in their company to be able to deliver value based on what they are describing in the job description. So that's why you must read the job description, understand what it is, and see how your skill set connect with them. And that's why your cover letter is very important. Your cover letter will speak directly to what you carry that is different and unique and why they have to listen to you and why they give you the opportunity. And once they see that, I can tell you they want to hear from you. And then you must recognize that whether you apply for this one and they're not responding, it's not on you, it's on them. They're the one losing out. Once that mindset shifts from somebody who's just looking for an opportunity anyhow to somebody who say, look, I have something I carry, skills in this area, and do you guys want somebody that like me to be able to help you and add value to your business? When that shift happens, I tell you, it's amazing. It's a major shift. And so from getting your resume notice, being invited for interview, this is typically what happens. So when people don't get back to you for you, it's like, okay, cool, I get it. Now let me go for. That's why I always say apply for roles that you are a match, minimum 80%. And if you don't know what that means, that application that I shared with you all will help you tell you what's your match for this role. Even on LinkedIn, you can see some roles there. They will tell you you're 30% match, 80% match, you're a good fit for this role. These are the kind of roles that should interest you, and not just any role that you see being advertised. And of course, the last thing here in mindset is your storytelling, presenting your experience as a value creation, not a task. A lot of people, if you read their resumes like task activities, I did this, I did that. What happens? What's the outcome of that? What you did? How does that benefit the company that you work for? That's where people need to understand that there has to be a value shift. I have a Word document here I'm going to share with us as well. Some of the things, what people are looking for. If you see on my screen now, there are a couple of things. I'm going to drop the link here for all of you. What they are looking for when they are looking at the resume. So I'm going to put it in the chat and let me know if that Google link allows you guys to open it. Let me know. All right, you just say yes, it's opened in the chat if you're able to open that. It sounds about a couple of bullet points on how to be able to make sure that people understand what they're looking for, particularly in this part of the world. So reframes outside we're going to have here now, which you guys can take note and we can talk about that in our question in our Q&A is how to reframe your resume bullet point to what I call value-driven statement. I have a PDF I'm going to share with you after the session on value-driven statements, how your resume should show value. What am I going to do? The outcome. I've done this before. This is the result. I've helped the company done this. By doing this, I helped the company do this. Now they can see the pattern that you're not just activity person, based person. You are someone who is, adding value without result to show for it. Because every company, including for an employee, or value. Always remember that every company what we're concerned looking for an employee of value. So you have to show the value you are presenting before they can open the door and get you into the system. Now, common mistake to avoid as we begin to wrap up session and open up for Q&A is no one sending one size fits all resume to countless jobs. It never worked. So don't just put one resume and say, oh, this resume is my permanent resume, and then send it everywhere. No, it doesn't work that way any longer. Okay. Number two, ignorant keywords. I mentioned that earlier. Don't just send resume anyhow. Make sure they are tailored resume and they have the keywords in there. Sorry, everybody. Number four, understanding your value and the value you bring to the table. Very important. Don't just think that they will know your value. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to present your value. If you understand what I'm talking about. If you have a question on that, let me know. And then the next one is common mistakes, not leveraging your network. Now, one thing you need to recognize about roles in general, you have to build the right relationship. People need to be able to refer you. That's one of the best way to get a job faster. Referral. Then, of course, your resume or your LinkedIn is one critical piece of thing that you all need to make sure that you have a LinkedIn profile, and I can walk you through what you need to be able to get your LinkedIn profile noticed. I have my LinkedIn here. If you ever check me on LinkedIn, you see it was structured. Your headline was very clean and clear. And then the way you structure, how you do what you do. And I can show you how this happens. Thank God for AI today. You can draft what I call a bio profile that describes what you do, how you do what you do, the value you bring to the table, and then that's your brand online. So if you want to be inside on LinkedIn, please go make that happen ASAP. I'll pause here for questions. If you have any questions for now before we wrap up, because that's really where we're going. Action plan, we're going to talk about action plan, but I want to pause it a little while for questions. If you have any questions, you can unmute and ask your question and then wrap up the session. This one slide, and then we're going to final Q&A. Okay? Let me pause for now. Any question from anyone on the call today? Let me pause for effect. They're just joining your name in the chat, where you're joining from, and your goal for today. And I see Muslim has done that. Faith has done that. Okay. Goal for Faith is join the session today to plant knowledge on how to get interviews. Correct. So on that, I believe, I know you went in and out. I hope you got that. If you have a question now, you can open up. I'm happy to respond. And then, of course, Muslim join session to build professional network. Absolutely, yeah, very critical. So, and then fact, yeah, nothing. Where you're joining from and your objective for joining today. So, I don't know if you have any question yet on what we've shared so far. I want to make sure it's very interactive. Let me know if you have any question, or you can put it in the chat. Okay, so let's go to, so we talk about common mistakes to avoid. Now you all know that. You can take a screenshot of this. If you're aware, you can do that. The next one is action plan from invisible to be interviewed. Number one, action plan that we need to be aware of is audit your resume. If you have a resume today, and if you are willing to share that on the screen with me, I'm happy to just give you quick feedback if you have that. I know of you that want to volunteer, that's happened. Then reframe your LinkedIn profile. Talk about that earlier. Experiment with AI tools. I've already shared that with you, the apexcareer.ai. You can click the link in the chat now and see the application and see what it looks like. And then practice articulating your story with confidence and clarity. This is the interview part of it. That'll be session 3. Session 1 is focused on what we're doing today, just to lay the foundation. Session 2 Next, we're going to talk about resume, tailoring, all those things. We're going to go online and log into the applications and show you how to tailor your resume, the cover letters already with AI, and all those things. That will be the next month session. But between now and then, you can practice on your own. And if you have any question, just come back to me. And then your LinkedIn profile, how do you build a LinkedIn profile that works? So next session, we're going to be looking at the, like I said, on October, that will be next month, we're going to have a look at some of these things. And then the last one will be interviews. That's the one that we'll do a live interview right here, where you all see how this works. Any question? Let me go back to the chat. Somebody drop something there. Or you can mute yourself and ask question. Okay, Fatima is joined from where you go. Yes, any question now, everybody? Let's go into the interactive session now. You have any questions for me? Anyone? Any question? Okay, not yet sure. Sure of what? What do you mean by not yet sure? Wait.
I meant no question yet.
Oh, no question yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so each of you, are you interviewing currently? Or are you just preparing yourself for next opportunity that's coming? Can you
I
chat and let me know?
okay, I'm currently preparing myself for some opportunities. I recently had an interview 2 weeks ago and I got a rejection
Okay.
email.
Mhm.
So it was like I knew I was going to be rejected because I was not prepared. I was not confident enough.
All right.
While it's an international job, so some questions I was not really prepared, so I didn't really answer it to my satisfaction. And then I got an email that they would have to proceed with other candidates. So I just felt this platform is like a very good opportunity for me to learn and see how I can correct myself in case of other opportunities that may come my way.
Exactly. Now, if you follow the blueprint that I'm sharing with you right now, I can guarantee you'll see an immediate transformation because you will not, to your point, you need to prepare. There's a preparation that needs to happen. It's not a wish, something has to happen before you see the result. And so I know you checked in and out. Did you, from what we've shared so far, what do you think? Does this help? Have you seen, can you see the mistake you made? And what are the steps that you need to do, adopt to make a change to that? Did you see that so
Yes,
far?
I did. Yes, I
Excellent.
did. I did, sir.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks for sharing that with us. Anyone else have any questions? But I want to make sure that this session is not just about what we know, it's about making sure that all of you understand what to do next after this session today. Because it's not meant to be a long seminar, it's about to, engaging and give you guys the fundamentals of what to do next so they can start getting the results. Any question from anybody else before we wrap up? And I'm going to be sharing the recording with all of you and possibly the slide as well. Okay? Just for you to keep and to review later after this session. Okay. You have a question there? All right, cool. Yeah, you're welcome. So next steps after today, it's once every month, as you know, last Saturday of every month. If you're not already said, check out the action plan. The assignment you guys have today is audit your resume. Go back to your resume and look at it in the light of this teaching today or seminar. Reframe your LinkedIn profile. I'll share with you guys a blueprint to do that as well. We're going to talk about that next week, actually. And then practice how to articulate yourself with confidence. There's a tool, the Apex AI tool. It's an excellent tool which I strongly recommend. So our roadmap next month, October, we get an invite again, or a reminder rather, on how to build a personal brand. That what we'll be focusing on. And then the last one, the interview, November, actual. Because by that time you have interviews that you need someone to guide you. And if you want someone to guide before then and you feel it's urgent, you shout to me as well. I can help you to structure that as well. So on that note, we've come to the end of today's session. Let me thank you all for joining. And I'm trusting that this is an eye-opener for many of you and will help you to position yourself differently going forward. All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you all. And